Magandang umaga po mga kaibigan. Tayo po'y nasa ating roundtable with Philippine Press Institute ngayong araw na ito. Mahalaga ang pag-uusapan, but before we go any further, let's have a few words from Ariel and our colleagues. Ariel, please.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 4th monthly roundtable of the Philippine Press Institute in partnership with Hans Seidel Foundation. Maraming salamat, Hans Seidel Foundation, for another opportunity for us to do this online activity with our very effective, efficient moderator, Kuya Melo Acuña. Maraming salamat sa ating resource persons ngayon, mga panelists natin, and those watching us live via Facebook live streaming. Stand by for a dynamic discussion on this one on education. We chose education kasi we thought that it's very relevant and that everybody can relate to it, and that it's about time we talk about it online. At this point, also, we say our regards to the PPA Board of Trustees. They also sing their gratitude to Hans Seidel Foundation, and so that we call the resident representative to the Philippines of Hans Seidel Foundation, Mr. Guts Heineke, for his message to all of us.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Ariel. My name is Guts Heineke. I'm the resident representative of the German Hans Seidel Foundation. Hans Seidel Foundation is a German NGO. We are in the Philippines for 40 years now. Our goal is to build up democracy and good governance. In partnership with the PPI, this is already the fourth round of our roundtable discussion. And so far, we had exciting topics. I'm pretty sure this one will be more than exciting because I don't have children, but I hear from left and from right, from parents and billions of kids that are complaining about online teaching and online schooling at the moment. So as I don't have kids, I think my role is just to listen and to learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Over to you, Kuya Melo.
Thank you. Thank you. Magandang umaga po muli mga kaibigan, at ngayon pong araw na ito, kasama po natin ang mga taga-Department of Education. Kasama rin po natin ang mga taga-Globe at SMART. Pero meron din tayong panauhin all the way from Bangkok. Let me introduce our panel this morning, mga kaibigan. We have with us Undersecretary Elaine Del B. Pascua of the Department of Education. Undersecretary Josephine Maribuhok is also expected. Undersecretary Jesus L.R. Mateo, the Undersecretary for Planning, is with us. And we are expecting Undersecretary Tonesito M.C. Umali. We are expecting Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio to sit with us. But as I mentioned, somebody from Bangkok, we have Dr. Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela. Siya po ang director ng Secretariat ng ito po yung grupo ng Southeast Asian Ministers of Education, o SIAMYO. We're also joined by Yoli Crisanto, a good friend from Globe Telecom Incorporated. Siya po ang Senior Vice President at Chief Sustainability Officer at Head ng Corporate Communications. And Stephanie Orlino, Assistant Vice President for Community Partnerships ng PLDT SMART. So let me ask our good friend Dr. Ethel Agnes Valenzuela kung ano po ang sitwasyon sa Association of Southeast Asian Nation Countries. Paano tumutugon? How do ASEAN countries cope with COVID-19? Please join us, Dr. Valenzuela, please. Dr. Valenzuela? Yes. Subukan po natin yung signal niya mula sa Bangkok. Yes, good morning. Yes.
Or not yet. Shopee po kasi yung dating nyo.
Okay. Well, tell us, how is it in ASEAN today? Paano tumutugon yung mga bansa sa ASEAN sa COVID-19? May blended education ba? May modules ba? Ano po ang inyong mabalita? What have you heard?
Cannot hear with my presentation. I'll just to please.
Yes, we could hardly hear you, Dr. Valenzuela. Well, it's the internet. Ano kaya nangyari? Give it another try. Yes, Dr. Valenzuela. Uy. Hello. Mhm. One thing is sure, no? Hindi common carrier from the Philippines yan. It's probably somewhere. Ano kaya nangyari? Balikan natin si Dr. Agnes Valenzuela. Let's hear from the Department of Education. Undersecretary Mateo, can you please tell us what's going on at the Department of Education? How do we cope with the challenges being faced by our students and our teachers today? Undersecretary Mateo, please. Undersecretary Mateo or Undersecretary Pascua? Teka, may problema po tayo. Subukan natin. Yes, please. Undersecretary Mateo, kayo po ba yan? Yes? Hello? Okay. Sandali po mga kaibigan. We'll try to do something about our signal. We'll shift to our data. Sandali po. Mag-shift tayo sa data natin. Mukhang may problema yung ating linya. Well, it happens every now and then. Sandali lang mga kaibigan. We'll have to do some adjustments. All right. Thank you, Kier, for the advice. Let's see what happens next. Okay. We're having a hard time with our internet. Sandali po. We'll try to make some adjustments. Okay. Yes. All right.
Kuya, can you hear us?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you now. Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Kanina kasi, we can hear everyone, but you cannot hear us.
Yes. Nagka-problema
Can you hear us now?
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Dinig mo na kami. Okay, go. Go, Kuya.
Thank you, Ariel. Let's hear from Dr. Ethel Agnes Valenzuela to give us an ASEAN perspective. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. I would like to request to share sana the screen that I have prepared, but the host disabled. So I will just briefly summarize. So we did a Ministerial Policy E-Forum on COVID-19 responses from Southeast Asian Ministers of Education last June. So I will be sharing briefly what the other countries are currently doing. For example, in Malaysia, the ministry provided digital learning platform, Google Classroom, home-based learning, and those students who are experiencing difficulties in pursuing home-based learning due to the lack of hardware and internet, actually the government provided for support, including, okay, I will share my slide. But
Yes, please.
cannot.
Let's try.
Okay,
Sandali lang.
hindi siya available for screen sharing.
Sandali lang. Let me do something about it.
Okay.
Okay, let me do something about it.
But anyway, I can proceed without the sharing this information.
Yeah. Maybe
Anyway.
the doctor can proceed even without the presentation.
Yes. Sorry,
Yes,
I'll
please.
just be sharing with you later.
Yes.
Okay, and then from Singapore, of course, Singapore perceived COVID-19 as a circuit breaker mode, or it's a reset mode for all of us. So those students who could not access digital learning platform or virtual learning, they provided as well support. Platforms, and the disadvantaged ones, they were also reached and given some support, like they can loan some iPads or mobile support, and access to education is really prioritized for the disadvantaged Singaporeans who could not access all of this technology. From Brunei Darussalam, technical support was provided and was made available to all, including donating computers, tablets, and laptops. So Brunei Darussalam is a different case kasi mayaman na bansa yan and kukunti lang yung mga estudyante nila. So ang priority din nila is to support marginalized learners and make sure that the education deficit is reduced to absolute minimum. Kailangan ma-reach yung learning competencies goals nila. And to do that, the ministry also provided home learning packs, and they were sent to the homes of the disadvantaged children. And even some who can afford, they have a pickup center for all the modules, and also serve meals for the schools. They also mobilize everybody. So there is an individual education plan made available, customized learning resources. So in comparison sa Brunei, medyo mahirap kasi they really are rich. No? When it comes to Cambodia, of course, Cambodia is also different, but the ministry provided digital education platform, harmonizing all digital platforms, encouraging all the communication companies to help. Lahat ng magagaling na teachers nila, they encouraged to do videos, and all of these video lectures were shared in a platform of the Ministry of Education. They have digital administration of schools, and they, of course, do capacity building for teachers. So for Indonesia, what they did was, also utilizing flexible learning modalities, online, offline, and a combination or hybrid learning. And teachers and lecturers were encouraged to use video conferences, digital documents, and other online technologies. But kagaya ng Pilipinas, ang Indonesia also, double ang kanilang population than the Philippines, right? And marami din silang islands, more than us. So they also have different approaches for each of those provinces. So they categorize them into colors, and those who are ready to open up schools, they are encouraged to open up, but those who have COVID problems yet, they were forced to adopt home-based learning or offline, online, different modalities. So they used TV-based learning programs, especially in the rural areas, na radio and TV lang yung pwedeng gamitin, but not the internet. So the parents are also involved in educating the children, and they implement strict health protocols in Indonesia. Then for Lao, PDR is also a low-income country, so but they also have many rural areas. So they provided alternative learning methods that not all of them can use online instruction or virtual learning. So the remote schools and students in mountainous areas were also given modules delivered by Ministry of Education. But we use ICT and digital communication combined with traditional teaching and learning modalities. And building capacity of teacher all throughout during this pandemic. Kailangan kasi malaman kung paano magturo with ICT, but actually they more of the traditional mode of learning pa rin, delivering modules to teachers and prioritizing training on ICT. So for Myanmar, Myanmar is a case where they receive a lot of support from international agencies and grants. So with that, they were able to develop their TV education channels, digital education platform, or Myanmar DEP. They also have DBE box, one tablet per school, online seminars, video conferencing meetings. So Myanmar has very well, train their teachers, and they also do video, radio, TV broadcast, and providing health.
Mm-hmm.
gaps in the disadvantaged group. So
Yes. Yes, madam.
has allowed students divided by talent. Timor-Leste is our country with so many challenges as well. But the priority of Minister Dulce was to create materials for the most vulnerable children and those with special education needs. So they also distributed books to children, and especially prioritizing those in remote areas. They have online digital library. They produce learning application, YouTube channel, everywhere where students can access learning. And from the discussion of Vietnam, utilized 28 TV channels in order to reach everybody. So in fact, ang Vietnam yung pinakaunang nag-close in Southeast Asia. In February, close na sila. So they thought of providing online classes, online resources to reach the unreached and disadvantaged learners. So after opening up, they again closed because of the second wave, right? Nagkaroon sa Danang, and still utilizing flexible learning modality right now. So some of the Vietnamese students are already back to school, but those with like Danang they are closed for that matter. So in the school reopening, rehabilitation, and resurgence planning meeting of high officials, we thought of supporting teachers for online teaching and training and coaching. And most countries have provided COVID-19 guidelines and prevention. Kasi para kung magkaroon ng resurgence, there is another plan for that. And the biggest thing for us is to do the recovery on learning gaps kasi maraming talagang kailangan gawing remediation. During COVID-19, many of the ministries of education just select core areas of learning. So they minimize the content, right? So, but we hope that those important like global citizenship, justice, peace, all of these values are still intact during COVID-19. This I think very important. So the disadvantaged learners remediation was recommended that we need to really address now learning gaps. And from CMEO Secretariat, we have proposed 2 interventions, and it's still going on with the ministers approving at this time. We propose that in our website, you can actually see open educational resources and massive open online courses, which are actually free. I have gathered from partners and from all over learning materials. In fact, I called on universities to share video lectures on different topics. We got 150 of them, and many of them are from the Philippines as well. So I'm very happy with that. And we're continuously doing capacity building for teachers. We have Learning Thursday. We offer free webinars on learning management system, on teaching using the technology tools and application. And you can get all of this from our website. So you please visit our website at smeo.org. So right now we are a member of the UNESCO Global Education Coalition for COVID-19. All our services, our modules, those that we develop are all for free to be used by Southeast Asian learners and teachers and even beyond. So this is my quick sharing, and I hope you get something, and I am clear and I hope nothing else. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me the chance to share with you, Sir Melo, and the team from the Philippines. Mabuhay.
Yeah, please stand by because we will have some questions for you.
Okay, no problem.
Please spend some time with
Okay
us.
po.
Can we hear from the Department of Education? Can we hear from Undersecretary Mateo to give us a situation there how the Philippines is coping with COVID-19 after we opened our school year last October 5? Yusek Mateo, please.
Yeah, good morning, Sir Melo. Good afternoon, good morning, Dr. Ethel, and to all the members of the Philippine Press Institute, and good morning as well to my colleagues in the Department of Education. Alam niyo, Sir Melo, even before we opened the schools, in October 5, as early as April, March, last week of March, we locked down, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So starting April, the Secretary Biones, conducted several meetings with all the levels of the governance levels of the Department of Education. Isa na dito ang result nitong conversation na to, series of conversation, as in almost every week, twice a week, we meet to discuss possibilities, and came up with what we call the basic education Learning Continuity Plan. Ito pong Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan is informed by several studies and surveys we conducted prior to the opening. In that Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, there are certain principles na we need to follow at all levels of governance. Isa na dito po yung safety and welfare of our learners, our teachers, and our employees. Non-negotiable po yan. And then the other thing that we wish to highlight is the fact that we are governed also by other guidelines of other agencies, no? Particularly the Interagency Task Force. Kaya isa po dito sa embedded sa Learning Continuity Plan are the various health protocols po and the observation of risk severity categories. No? So having said that, we proceeded to prepare the details of the Learning Continuity Plan. Ang notable condito principle is the ability of our schools, our divisions, our regions to contextualize. Kasi alam niyo po, iba-iba naman yung severity index or category ng bawat barangay, bawat municipality. At iba-iba rin po yung categories ng mga learners natin. That's why we allowed the regions and the schools, no, to provide their contextualized learning continuity plan. So ang isang sukatan po natin dito, kamusta po yung ating enrollment? Knowing fully well that there will be an impact of the COVID-19, no? So we said to NEDA, kasi we were asked by NEDA, ano ba magiging target nyo ngayon? Kasi lahat ng agencies, tinanong ng NEDA in relation to the Philippine Development Plan, what would be the target for this year, no? Siyempre, because of COVID, there will be some adjustment. And therefore, as far as enrollment is concerned, we targeted that the enrollment will be 80% of the previous school year. So as of now, we are happy to report that our enrollment, both for public and private, is 24.98 million. That represents already 89.96% of the previous school year. So ang ibig sabihin lang po nito ay nasurpass na namin yung target namin, which is a good, a positive development, no? Pero hindi po kami hihinto doon sa aming campaign to ensure that all learners will continue their education. If you break it down to public and private, out of 24.98 million, we're now at 22.71 million or 100% sa public school enrollment. I'd like to take note that 399,000 of this came from a private school. Pagdating sa private school po, ito yung medyo may challenge kami kasi they are now at 2.2 million or 51.39% of the previous enrollment in private schools. I'd like to take note, however, that yung enrollment po sa private school, majority of the private school movers, no, in public school came from small private schools. Sa katunayan nga po, isa sa mga survey rin namin, tinanong namin kung ilan mga private schools ang hindi magbubukas ngayon. Out of 14,000 na private school, 860 po ang hindi nagbukas. 80% po dito, 80% po dito are pure elementary schools and these are small schools. When we say small schools, ang enrollment po nito ay mababa sa less than 300 enrollment po, offering kinder to grade 6. In the meantime po, going to the different modalities, we have 3 major modalities plus yung blended, no? So ano po to? Isa na dito po yung tinatawag nating printed and digital modules. The other is the online. And the third one is the TV and radio. It's not, hindi po kanyan one or the other. It can be blended according to their context. So to cite a specific example, in Sarangani po, in a remote area in Sarangani, what the DepEd did in conjunction with the in cooperation with the local government units is to set up what they call the learning resources on wheels. Ang ibig sabihin lang po nito, nag-set up po sila ng local area network para po ma-download ng mga bata yung kanilang mga modules. And they were given tablets rin po doon sa learning modules ito. In some areas naman, let's say for example in Metro Manila, I'm sure you will ang isang notion nyo is that since Metro Manila is connected, no, they will choose the online. Pero alam niyo po, doon sa Nabotas, ang ginawa po nila yung tinatawag na modular, no, o yung print modules. Dineliver po to sa mga bahay-bahay kung hindi po makuha ng mga parents or guardians po. And then we could also continue to invest on our human capital by way of providing mental health and psychosocial services even prior to the opening of classes as early as, if I'm not mistaken, May series of webinars na kami ginawa for our teachers, our employees, our learners po. Pero continuing pa rin po yan. And then we continue to provide the different policies to enable them to deliver education safely in the comforts of their homes. No? So gaya ng sinabi ni Dr. Ethel, ang bawat country po may kanya-kanya po yan, pero isa lang ang common po. They're using blended learning or different modules to ensure that we continue. Sabi nga po ng isang Prime Minister, if I'm not mistaken, Singapore, kailangan po talaga na we continue, no? We cannot just freeze the schooling kasi madidisadvantage yung mga bata. When it comes to the salaries of our employees and our teachers, continuing po yan. In fact, we are investing about 32 billion a month for the salaries of our employees, no? Then thirdly, we continue to converse, to cooperate with our stakeholders, particularly local governments as well as national government. Sa national government po, sinimulan po namin as early as June or May yung conversation namin with appropriate government agencies like the ICT for the ICT requirement, with the PCOO for the TV and radio. Sa katunayan nga po, si Secretary Onasan and Secretary Andanar, no, continue to cooperate with us to help us ensure that we address all the concerns. Okay. Ngayon, and finally po, I don't want to take so much time. Perhaps my other colleagues can contribute other information. Yung sa aming pong pagbubukas noong October 5, and incidentally, belated Happy Teachers Day po. So nag-celebrate po tayo. Noong October 5 is the Teachers Day. We opened our classes. And then on October 10, we celebrated our Teachers Day. It is a happy moment. You can see a lot of smiling faces, no, from our learners and from our teachers. Sabi po nga namin, these are ordinary people doing extraordinary work. Thank you po, Sir Melo, and thank you for the others for listening. Thank you po.
Okay, marami tayong pag-uusapan dyan. Pero may, kasama na rin natin si Undersecretary Dads San Antonio. Mr. Undersecretary, let me ask you, pinag-uusapan yung modules. Sino ang nagsusuri ng laman nito? Sino ang nag-prepare? At meron bang paraan para matiyak na maayos yung modules na makakarating sa mga mag-aaral? Yusek, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Melo.
Yes, please. Yusek Dads, please.
Good morning, Sir Melo. Sorry po, may natagalan akong makapasok, hindi umo-obra yung passcode, but at last it's now working. I've been calling you, yung miss call sa akin. Yeah. But yung pong proseso nito ay sinimulan 2018 pa. Ang unang plano namin talaga mag-develop ng alternative delivery materials kasi po frequent na yung mga calamities, suspensions of classes. So talaga pong naghahanda kami ng materials na gagamitin kahit hindi pwedeng pumunta sa school yung mga bata. So ano po ang proseso yung central office initiated po? Mga regions po, ini-assign namin ng grade or learning area to develop. Mayroon din po silang sari-sariling development teams, kinapacitate po sila, tinuruan kung ano yung bibigyang pansin sa content, language at mga layout concerns. Tapos po, pag nagawa po ito ng division, usually po division, tapos nare-review siya sa region bago po i-forward sa amin. May team po tayo na conformance review team sa central office dati at ngayon mayroon din po na tumitingin sa content initially. Tapos po, pag may mga comments sila, ibabalik sa development team para i-incorporate yung revision. Tapos babalik po sa amin sa central office para tingnan ulit kung compliant na siya. Tapos wala nang issue sa language, intellectual property rights, yung instructional design. Lahat po ito tinitingnan. Tapos po, saka po siya i-certify as ready to print. Pero po yun sa first quarter kasi, Sir Melo, kasi kailangang gawin sa pinakamabilis na panahon. Ang ginawa po ng regions, katulad ko rin kung ako ang regional director, nagpagawa rin po pasiguro kung may hindi matatapos ang central office, ready nilang gagamitin yung ginawa nila. So yung pong sa first quarter, multiple po ang sources. So mayroon pong mga ginagamit ang mga division offices, mga paaralan at mga regions na hindi na quality assure sa central office. So para pong nabawasan yung proseso ng quality assurance. Kaya po, yun na nga, may mga nakikita tayong mga mali-mali ng kaunti diyan sa mga issue na yan. Ang pangalawa po, ang ginagawa na po natin ngayon, nag-meeting po kami ng mga regional directors nung Sunday, kasama si Yusek Revsi, at naniwala po sila na second quarter na magsisimula for the whole country. So ang ginawa po nila, nag-contribute sila sa amin ng mga trained quality assurance supervisors sa learning resources na tutulong sa amin. So nagbigay na po kami ng orientation kahapon. So yung effort namin ngayon mas maigting at papaigtingin po ito pa rin kasi sang-ayon din sa aming experience nung mga dry run, kailangan po talaga mayroong panel of experts na outside of DepEd na gagawa. So we are now in the process of procuring them agency to agency yata kasi we'll engage state university professors to do this. So hopefully po yung at least yung second quarter, lalo na yung second month ng second quarter na mahahabol pa, we'll have to go through more eyes. Mayroon din po mga volunteers na pinag-uusapan namin kung paano i-engage na hindi sila babayaran pero nagmamalasakit, gustong tumulong na magdagdag. Kasi po yung una medyo mabagal din yung namin kasi hindi naman kakaunti lang yung tao namin ay sabay-sabay po pati yung TV lessons kailangang i-quality assure. Ito po yung nangyari kaya yun na nga. Pero ang isang gusto ko rin pong ipaliwanag din, yung lalo na po yung viral na may comment yung Commission on Human Rights, hindi po yun officially na quality assure. So as far as we know, kaya po pinapahanap ko yung mga may alam kung saang school yun ginagamit kasi kahit po yung region na nag-develop niyan, it was developed actually not for this COVID-19 school year. Dinevelop daw po iyan yung in response sa dating kailangan na magkaroon ng mga alternative delivery materials. Pero nang sinubmit nga po yan sa central office team, binalik po at sinabi may mga aayusin kayo dyan. So hindi po talaga siya, as far as we are concerned, hindi pa siya officially allowed ng DepEd. Kahit po yung region na gumawa noon ay hindi rin na-circulate yung material. Nagtataka lang po kami kung bakit sinishare at sinasabing ginagamit, hindi naman sinasabi sa amin kung saan yung ginagamit. Okay. So parang humihingi po kami ng tulong na yung mga ganito na ginagawang viral at parang na napapako na sa krus yung DepEd ay hindi pa naman nga pinapayagan ng DepEd na gamitin. So yun lang po ang gusto kong linawin din kasi para naman po maging fair tayo sa DepEd, talagang dapat isabihin kung saang school ginagamit yung mga nakikitang mga mali sa ating mga SNMs. At kung yun po talaga ay totoong ginagamit, may ginagawa na po ang mga regional offices natin, yung sarili nilang ginawa, sila yung gumagawa ng errata. Yun naman pong central office, kami naman po ang maglalabas ng pagsasaayos kung mayroon mga nakikitang mga mali. Thank you po.
Alright. Matanong ko muna yung ating kasama si Yoli Crisanto ng Globe. Yoli, as far as connectivity sa internet, how far has Globe Telecom responded to the situation? Yes, Yoli, please.
Hi Melo and all of the panelists. Good morning. Good morning din po sa lahat ng nasa Facebook natin ngayon. Well, To be frank about it, Melo, in terms of your experience this morning, right? We know that there are also challenges. There are still challenges. So I think we should uh, take due course na tignan natin, no? What's happening right now on the telco industry is parang we're also doing a reboot
Mhm.
in
Okay.
some way. Parang what happened to DepEd, biglang nag-online learning sila, di ba? So in telco, it's the same. It's like we're doing a reboot. Why? Because this is the only time that there was such an assistance that was given in terms of the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act and the joint memorandum circular among ARTA, the ICT, and the rest of the other national government agencies to really take a hard stance and hopefully solve this problem of permits. Di ba? So essentially, we've all been talking about this for a long, long time. That in terms of connectivity, talagang we really lack the ICT infrastructure,
Uh-huh.
right? So baseline na natin yon. Okay? Baseline na natin yon. Talagang kulang, right? And so what we really need to do is to build. So that is exactly what we're doing now. We're doing a three-pronged strategy to improve internet connectivity. How? Because of what the government has given us in terms of the enabling laws this year. In fact, ito lang yan, October, right? We're now doing a lot of this, accelerating our builds across the different areas in the country. So nationwide, yung ginagawa nating builds, no? Also, because of what happened with the lockdowns, we understand the need for having strong connectivity inside the home. So kasama dyan yung pagpa-fiberize ng mga bahay natin. Ano ibig sabihin ng fiberize? Ang ibig sabihin nun, we are now connecting fiber. So dati kasi, we're using copper cables, di ba, na madaling mabali. And in fact, ninanakaw yon. Kasi
Of course.
pag kinuha mo, di ba, you get the copper inside it. And then you're able to sell it, di ba? So ngayon, we're doing fiber na. And fiber is more resilient. And aside from that, fiber is the global standard. So we're using the real advanced technologies now to be able to improve connectivity. And the third strategy is really move up everybody to the higher technology. Kasi di ba in the past, we've been using, some of us have been using 2G, some of us have been using 3G. Hindi na siya hindi na siya pwede sa the way that we're using internet now. Because even at the DepEd level, you need to download a lot of modules, di ba?
Yeah.
And in those modules, syempre, nagsistream ka din. And then we're doing this. We're doing this now, Zoom, and then Facebook Live, di ba? So we're streaming videos now. So yun na, and obviously, if you do a lot of this rich material, yung rich content na tinatawag natin, you need more bandwidth. And you can't do that with 3G anymore. So let's face it. So kailangan na nating umakyat. And the technology is available anyway. So we're trying to move all of our customers now to 4G, at least 4G LTE.
Mhm.
Yeah. In the advent na 5G is still being rolled out. You know, hindi tayo naman nahuhuli sa 5G globally. All right? I'm talking about, because we keep on comparing ourselves with other countries, right? Hindi pa naman talaga ganun ka-pervasive ang 5G in all of the countries around the world, right?
Okay.
Obviously, there are countries na mauuna sila, okay? But hindi naman nahuhuli ang Pilipinas. And that's what we're trying to say. And because we have this enabling laws right now, the connectivity will definitely improve.
Okay.
Yan naman ang ating promise natin dyan.
Good. Magandang balita yan. Let's hear from the other side of defense from PLDT SMART. Yes.
Hi, Melo.
Steph, good morning. Yes, please.
Yes, Sir Melo, good morning.
How are things going your way?
Yes, oo. In terms of our LTE coverage, 93% of the cities and municipalities are already covered by LTE and 95% of the population. And just like with Globe, continuous yung rollout ng fiber. But then, again, as Yoli has mentioned, there are still pockets, no? that either wala tayong connectivity or yung mga teachers, students cannot afford the connectivity because of, a lot of economic issues. And so kami po sa PLDT and SMART, the strategy that we're taking would be to support DepEd's blended learning strategy. So kumbaga, meron kaming mga solutions, may slew of solutions na pwedeng pang online, na pwedeng pang modular, na pwede rin pong broadcast. So for example, for online, obviously we have device and connectivity packages, and then we do have partnerships with Google and Microsoft para yung mga schools magkaroon sila ng robust na learning management platform. Doon naman sa mobile side, we've zero-rated yung DepEd Commons para po yung mga subscribers namin won't be charged when they access the content that's in DepEd Commons. And pag lumabas naman sila ng DepEd Commons, meron naman tayong mga Giga Study packages that are really designed to support learning. And then meron din po tayong app dyan na pang like the Gabay Guru app that supports not just the teachers, the students, even the parents. Ngayon doon naman po sa mga last mile schools, para magkaroon din po sila ng digital access to digital education, we have the School in a Bag. Just last Monday, nag-turnover po kami ng 15 bags sa DepEd kay Sec Liling Briones. And ang isang bag na to, ang naglalaman po ito ng laptop and pocket Wi-Fi for the teacher, and then merong tablets for the students. And all of these devices have preloaded K-12 content so that they can access this even if they are offline. Ngayon, kung they opt to do modular, we also train the teachers. We've been training teachers on a crisis resilient strategy. Alam niyo po ito, Sir Melo, yung dynamic learning program. Opo, dinevelop ng Filipino scientists. They were also conferred the Ramon Magsaysay Award because of this strategy. And it's crisis resilient because it allows learning to continue kahit na nasa bahay yung mga estudyante, and even with minimal parental supervision. And thank you to our partners in DepEd kasi na-endorse na po nila itong programa na ito. Ngayon, pagdating naman sa broadcast, kasi nga, sabi, di ba, meron tayong online, merong print-based, and then broadcast. We've been airing yung DepEd TV for free sa 2 Signal TV channels. And then we've also been continuing with supporting yung group effort na po ng capacity building for teachers. Nagdi-digital literacy tayo. And also, very important is awareness on cyber security and internet safety kasi lalo na po pag nag-online. So really the goal is for us in the private sector also to contribute to yung ginagawa not just of DepEd, not just by the civil society, but pati lahat-lahat tayo to ensure nga na may access sa inclusive education kahit na yung mga teachers at mga students nasa underserved areas, underprivileged communities. Yun nga, para no learner left behind. So yun po yung ginagawa, yun po yung strategy naman from the PLDT and SMART.
Okay, good. Mabuti kung ganun. Let me ask our good friend Dr. Ethel, paano po tumutugon ang iba't ibang bansa doon sa mga mag-aaral na hearing challenged, visually impaired, dito sa Pilipinas, kasama sila sa mainstream. So how do we respond to that need? Paano ginagawa ng ibang bansa? Yes, Madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. Kasi importante rin ngayon yung children with special needs and disabilities. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I visited dito kasi sa Thailand, most of all of those with special needs, they're actually in one school. Nakasama-sama lahat sila doon. I have visited a lot of them here. And actually, they're lucky because they have the Royal Project. So the Royal Government of Thailand supporting them. So they also have online facilities. Kasi ang importante sa children with special needs, yung development of their skills, right? Yung motor skills nila, and then your ability to work with others. So they are actually being reached. Nandun sila sa school they're back to school. And nagkaroon nga ng problem because of the lockdown. So the parents and the family, they could not really do a lot in terms of educating them. Pero saglit lang naman kasi dito nag-close like from mid-March up to June. And July ang opening ng classes dito. And right away, July, naka-open lahat. But what is important now, we're here at CMAO, we're developing modules to equip teachers for Southeast Asia on how to teach using online. Kasi ang online facilities for the children with special needs, they're just in one class, yung ICT class nila. And this is already for those, kasi kina-categorize nila yung children with special needs, like, those who can really be in the real learning situation. So yung mga yung nabibigyan ng ICT. But merong mga estudyante with multiple disabilities na nakita ko, I have never seen that kind. But those with multiple disabilities, they are only on learning musical instruments, they're only on basic things. So may categories din yung children with special needs. But the thing is that even in Brunei, which I saw, and in Singapore, only few of them are mainstream. So meron talagang schools for them. And in some cases, these are private schools. But here in Thailand, nakita ko kasi yung emphasis na government takes care of them, and they're in different schools supported by the Royal Thai government, or Royal Project as they call it.
Okay. Pero you would agree with me, Dr. Valenzuela, that COVID-19 unveiled realities we wanted to cover for so many years, like the disparity between the rich and the poor, the learned and, well, those who need to be served, no?
So sabi nga po, this COVID-19 gave us like a magnifying lens of inequalities in the world. Dito natin nakita yung those who can access online classes. Ako nagtuturo din ako sa UP right now because it's virtual. So sa UP College of Education, so you can use virtual, but I'm also using other applications. So pag asynchronous learning, we're just doing classes by texting. Mobile learning naman ang ginagamit ko. Kasi mahirap na lahat naka-Zoom, right? Magkakaroon din ng Zoom fatigue yung mga estudyante natin. So it's a combination actually of mobile learning, sending all the video lectures that I have or information. So pwede yan. But not in all, sir. Kasi sa Southeast Asia, maraming nasa rural, maraming nasa walang access talaga totally for online or Wi-Fi talaga yung iba. So this is where yung modules, this is where the, yung mga DepEd and education officials all throughout Southeast Asia, hindi lang sa DepEd sa Philippines. Nakikita natin yan, even Brunei, the reaches, they have to reach the marginalized learners. So lahat may sariling approach, and modules are really helpful. But ang mahalaga dito, sir, nakita rin natin na paano yun, walang teacher and they're on their own. So this is, nagkaroon na role ang parents ngayon. Before, sige, dyan lang sa school. But now parents are helping out in this teaching and learning process to make sure that the kids are learning. So kaya mahalaga yung sinabi na Singapore government, the ministry, that is a whole nation approach, and parents are playing a bigger role now to deliver instruction supporting teachers. So ngayon nakikita ng parents ko anong ginagawa ng teacher in video lectures or everything. So really inequalities, but during the ministerial policy forum, the first priority is actually to give teachers the capacity to be able to teach using different modalities. Whether online yan or modular learning, or whatever, the teacher should be given the training, the capacity building program for them to be able to teach in the new normal setting. And the second one is actually yung disadvantaged learners that the governments, ministries of education should identify and should give the right approach for teaching and learning to the disadvantaged learners, whether SPED, early childhood education, na daycare services, etc. Ang dami kasi yung TVET, they cannot do virtual for the practical learning. So ayan, ang dami. So kailangan nating i-video instruction yung sa technical vocational education training because it's very difficult to teach all of these skills and even engineering and technology. So kanya-kanyang approach, but there's one thing that is common, yung whole of nation approach, and then identifying the right platform. Whether you use Google Classroom all throughout. For example, in Malaysia, they decided 95% of teachers can do Google Classroom. 59% of students are already knowledgeable of that use.
Really?
So ganun yung ganun yung approach, but may mga percentage na left. Even in our country, we have high percentage ng connectivity wala. only Singapore has 88% connectivity, but in the Philippines, it may be 60% or something. So, ang dami nating i-reach out in terms of student population. And that DepEd is really very good in addressing all of this.
Yeah. Well, I've seen television stations in Vietnam. Naging guest kami nung kanilang television network. Yung exchange ng KBP at nung Voice of Vietnam. We saw their facilities. They have a channel devoted just for traffic. Can you imagine? And you mentioned that a number of television channels, 28 TV channels, are devoted to education?
Yes po. Sa Vietnam, 28 TV channels. And here in Thailand, also a lot of TV channels on education. Lahat nandun. Nanonood nga rin ako eh. Even in Cambodia, I saw the minister himself teaching mathematics. So nakakatuwa kasi even the minister himself did a video how to teach mathematics, how to teach calculus, etc. So lahat nagtutulungan just to bring learning continuity. And ito is for us to really, sinasabi nga ng UNESCO, to build back better in this situation na hindi natin na-foresee. But sir, ang nakakatuwa sa Philippines, even before the pandemic, since 2000, 2000, we already have good policies for distance education at the CHED level. And universities and colleges have already started distance learning program, online learning programs. Medyo ahead tayo because we have Center of Excellence for online learning, that's UPOU. And ang ating law on open distance learning states that OU will be the center of excellence and will be providing support for online learning. And yun, maganda yun kasi meron tayo talagang center for open distance learning in our country, and it's a law. So ang kailangan lang natin talaga is I think yung connectivity natin, we still have to address that. And if we really have places that we cannot reach, we should do other learning platforms for them, or whether it's modular or whatever is the best solution.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to pose this question to either of the undersecretaries with us, kay Undersecretary Teresito Umali, kay Undersecretary Mateo, o kay Dad San Antonio. Merong reklamo, actually observation ito, nakarating po sa akin, na ang nakikita na penmanship doon sa mga materials, hindi penmanship ng bata, penmanship ng magulang. Paano natin malalaman kung may natututuhan yung bata sapagkat ang gumagawa ng assignments yung mga magulang? Dads, Tony, or Jess, please reply to this concern. Sino po kaya sa inyo?
Kasi Yusek Dads sa Sir Melo. Okay,
okay po. Sige, Yusek Dads, please. Hello?
Thank you po, Sir Melo. Actually, palagi naman po nating binibigyan diin ito na itong home-based learning na gagawin natin habang may COVID-19 ay pagkakataon din sa mga pamilya o sa mga magulang na magturo ng maayos na values. So talaga pong ang isang challenge ay paano matuturuan ng bata ng pagiging matapat kung yun mismo mga ibibigay na sasabihin ginawa ng bata ay ginawa ng iba. So parang dagdag po na dapat pakiusap natin paulit-ulit na hindi marka ang mahalaga para maging mas marunong at magkaroon ng malalim na kasanayan ang ating mga bata. Ang importante po, nauunawaan talaga ito at natututunan. So hindi po yan dapat ang binibigyang halaga. So yun yung ano po natin, pakiusap. Alam naman po yan ng mga kasamang guro natin, mga kapaguro, kung yun ang isinusumite ay hindi ginawa ng bata. Ang isa rin pong issue, ang kasama po kasi sa design ng mga self-learning modules, nandun yung answer key. Kasi ang module mismo parang teacher yan, kausap ng bata, pag binabasa siya, pag marunong siyang magbasa, yung ginagamit na module, ito gawin mo, ito ganyan. Tapos may bahagi na sasabihin, ano ba yung mga sagot mo sa ginawa mo? Tama ba yan? So may key to correction din kaming nilalabas dyan. At ang iba po sabi ay parang hindi na daw binabasa, kinokopya na lang yung sagot sa keto correction. So siguro po ito rin yung mga dagdag na dapat maunawaan at bigyang diin talaga ng ating mga kasamang mga kapwa mga magulang na huli yun natitingnan para talagang magkaroon ng parang totoong proseso ng pagkakatuto ang mga bata habang nasa bahay.
Okay.
Sir
Alright.
Melo,
Yeah, opo.
Sir Melo, kung
Yeah.
pwedeng magdagdag lang, a short intervention lang.
Please.
Ngayon nga yung panahon na para ipukpok natin na honesty is the best policy. Kasi po madidihado yung bata kung lagi po nating tinutulungan gumawa ng assignment. Wala naman pong problema yon, pero yung pagsasagot na po, dapat po nasa bata po yan. Sa giya lang po ng mga parents. Salamat po.
Okay. Babalik ako ngayon kay Dr. Agnes Valenzuela. Paano?
Siguro mabilis ding dagdag, Kuya Melo, sa sinabi ng mga kasamahan ko. Kuya Melo?
Opo, go ahead. Go ahead.
Bukod po doon sa sinabi po ng ating USEX Dad and Jess, meron po tayong DepEd Order number 31. Tanggapan po ni USEC Dad ang nanguna po nagbalangkas nito series of 2020. Interim guidelines for assessment and grading in light of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. Kalalabas lang po nito noong October 2. Ito po yung tinatawag po nating assessment tool, Kuya Melo, na magiging basihan ng performance ng bata. Yung sitwasyon na binigay po ninyo, tulad ng sinabi ni USEC Dads, alam po yan ng aming mga guro. Ang mangyayari po dyan, dapat ay alertuhin ng guro yung magulang na alam niya na hindi ito sulat ng bata. So sa mga tuwid, ang action po dyan dapat ng DepEd, dahil alam naman po, in the same way na nakikita po niyo yan, Kuya Melo, at madaling maramdaman yan, ay dapat po i-call out yung magulang in a very polite way, at yung mga sinasabi po ng mga kasamahan ko dito, mapaliwanagan po ng maayos na okay lang naman na naggagabay, pero wag niyong gagawin to the extent na wala nang pagkatuto na mangyayari. May tama pong pamamaraan at alam po ng aming mga guro ang dapat gawin sa mga sitwasyon na ganyan. Thank you, Kuya Melo.
Thank you, Yusek Tonesito Umali. Let me ask Dr. Agnes Valenzuela. Nung panahon bago nagka-COVID, lamang na ang Vietnam sa larangan ng siyensya at mathematics. Panahon pa ni Secretary Jesli Lapus, and that's a long time ago. On my first visit to Ho Chi Minh, I noticed na yung mga bata ang pasok Monday to Saturday. Yun daw Monday to Friday, nakatutok lang sa basic English, mathematics, and science. Pag Sabado, may pasok humanities. Okay? Tinanong ko si Jesli at the time. Sabi niya, alam mo Melo, matagal lang nauna yung mga yan kaysa sa atin. Seryoso sila. And that's before COVID. Long before COVID. Ngayon may COVID. Hindi kaya lalong maiwanan ng Pilipinas ng mga kalapit bansa natin. Dr. Valenzuela, please.
Sir Melo, napakahirap naman nung tanong mong yan sa akin kasi ako ay Pilipino. Siyempre, ayaw ko rin maiiwanan ang Pilipinas. Even in Southeast Asia, lagi tayong number 1 sana. So, nakikita natin in terms, gusto natin talaga ma-improve ang quality, loyalist pa rin, no? But nakikita ko rin kasi ang differences nung interventions nila. For example, Vietnam is good actually. Nakikita naman natin sa international assessment na number 1 sila sa mathematics at saka science. So, and then ang dami rin nilang, shadow classrooms. So, after nung classes nila, talagang very competitive. Nagkakaroon pa sila ng other classes right after class. Ito, nakikita natin ito, yung tutorials, they really have a lot of this shadow teaching and shadow classrooms ngayon, even in Hong Kong, even in Korea, kasi competitive talaga in terms of they wanted to access the best university, so they really invest on education. But we could not say that naiiwanan tayo. But if you look at the international assessment, maybe pwede nating sabihin, but we still put our high hopes that our educational system is very competitive. Marami tayong mga advantages in terms of learning and in terms of manpower that we have. Ang gagaling ng mga Pilipino, I really believe that we have that. But maybe we should review again. Kasi during the preparation of the K-12, we also reviewed and look at our content of the curriculum. So I was part of the study of K-12 comparison in Southeast Asia. So nakita natin doon overcrowded or congested talaga yung curriculum natin. But this is something that we learned from Singapore, that they teach less and learn more. Very focused din yung curriculum. So Vietnam also have that, yung content nila, very focused talaga yung learning, and even sa class, I have observed many of them. So nakikita ko yung quality of teaching and yung feeling na competitive, that you after class, you still have to go to another class. Not all of us can afford that one, Sir Melo, kasi di ba, yung may mga tutorials and etc. It's little percentage only. But if you look at countries which are competitive, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and Hong Kong, they have all of these shadow classrooms and teaching and learning strategies. So let's put high hopes on our educational system. DepEd is doing very well. Madaming challenges, but they have done a lot of innovation already. And they're also serving as model in our region. Let's just hope that more things will be getting better.
Okay. Bago po kayo mapikon, may tanong dito actually. Mula kay Dennis Montana. Thank you for giving us a very substantial overview of the situation of basic education in Southeast Asia during these trying times. Dr. Valenzuela, I hope you could also give us an overview of how ministries of education are monitoring the implementation of modular online learning po to prevent parents and other people in doing the assignments of learners and students.
I think in terms of assessment, no, online learning, very challenging ngayon yung assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and especially using the module instruction. So every module kasi, sir, meron siyang learning objectives, right? And meron siyang assessment strategy. Built-in na yan sa module. And also yung learning competencies that you would like to address. So each and every module should have all of these components. How do you assess? And how do you know that the children are learning? So very specific yan. And ganun din sa ibang bansa. Kasi ang modules naman natin for learning will have the same component. So it's like a lesson plan built in, and then you supplement it with video materials, YouTube materials, etc. So I think we need one topic for assessment of learning during COVID-19 pandemic. But what we learned from experts from Southeast Asia, there are tools for assessment. So well, may variation yung sa Philippines, right? Kasi kagaya ng diniscuss nyo kanina, nagkakaroon ng intervention yung parents in terms of learning, and that is a big challenge. But we don't have yet a real study on the comparison of online learning assessment or modular learning assessment in Southeast Asia right now. So we will keep on getting good practices from Southeast Asia, and maybe when you have another session on online assessment and learning, we can share more.
Please.
So, ayun, kasi nag-i-implement pa lang lahat. So implementation is rolling out.
Yes.
Then, yeah, after the implementation, then we can measure even the impact later, but not now kasi ngayon pala nag-uumpisa mag-roll.
Yeah, we're just beginning. Very good. All right. We have a question from a good friend. Teka, sandali. Mula kay Marian Enriquez of TV5. Marian, where are you?
Ay po. I'll just ask my question po. This is for DepEd. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. This is for DepEd USEC Diosdado San Antonio, or kung sino pong pwedeng makasagot. 1 month before po ang deadline ng late enrollment, that's November 21, there are still 2.8 million po, or almost 3 million children that are still not enrolled for this school year. Based po kasi sa last school year, minention po kanina, no, na we have Doon po sa last school year, we have 27.7 million students. Pero ngayon, we only have 24.9. So my question would be, which regions po or provinces po kaya yung may malaking bahagi ng mga kabataang hindi nag-enroll? And how are we addressing this? Update po on our efforts in convincing po yung kanilang mga magulang.
We need volunteers from DepEd.
Yeah. Sir Melo, if I may answer muna and then my colleagues can likewise do it. No?
Yes, please.
Totoo yun. Kaya nga ang unang sinabi namin, ang tinarget po namin is 80% lang kasi we pretty much know na may effect talaga yung COVID. No? Example of which is yung effect nito doon sa mga OFW na nag-uwian po. Ang epekto po nito, dati naka-enroll doon sa private school, kaya nga po ininganyo namin, yung iba po pumunta doon sa public school. Doon sa mga nawawala po, as we speak right now, even prior to COVID, meron po kaming tinatawag na flexible learning options. Yung flexible learning options po, kasama po dito yung alternative delivery mode, merong ISOSA, MISOSA, yung in-school, out-school po. Yun po, patuloy po yung ating programa na yun. No? Pero kagaya po ng sinabi ni Marian, again, it will be the decision of the parents and the guardians po. That's why we continue to advocate po and we continue to request yung assistance ng media na dapat po makumbinsi natin yung mga magulang, papasukin yung kanilang mga anak. Anyway, hindi naman po magkakaroon ng face-to-face. Meron pong ihahatid naman po yung mga modules na yon. So in any case po, meron po tayong patakaran dyan tungkol sa mga late enrollees. Salamat po.
Okay. Yusek Dads, have got anything to say? Okay.
Ano po yung sagot ni Yusek Jess?
Okay.
Yung ADM, flexible learning options.
Okay. All right. May follow-up ka, Marian?
Yes po. Meron lang pong tungkol naman po doon sa, dahil nga po masamang panahon, no, sa ibang mga probinsya po na binabayo po ng bagyo. Paano po ba, I understand na hindi na po under ng DepEd, pero paano po yung sa ating monitor, may mga nagsuspend po ba ng classes dahil po dito sa typhoon?
Sa bagyo, okay. Clear-cut policies from DepEd, please.
Again, Sir Melo, if I may.
Yes, please.
Nasa po rin yan, nasa patakaran po, na ang declaration ng no classes po ay nasa local government units. Pero since wala naman tayo talagang physically going to the schools, no, education can continue in a distance modality po. Whatever modalities po yon, whether it's online, TV, radio, or yung printed and digital module, it will continue po. Anyway, nasa bahay naman po sila. Thank you.
Okay. Let me pose this question to either of the DepEd undersecretaries with us. Anong direct assistance ang napakinabangan ninyo mula sa DICT? Because we've been hearing a lot from Globe and SMART. Anong naitulong sa inyong matino ng DICT? Meron po ba? Yusek Tunisito Omali for partnerships, please. Hello? Uy. Sino kaya? Any volunteer from the undersecretaries?
Sir Melo, po kasi si Yusek Tony, parehas kaming dalawang meeting na ginagawa. Nagsasalita siya doon sa isang meeting ngayon.
Okay.
So, ang maganda po sana si Yusek Alin yung magbigay ng detalye. So, yung nauunawaan ko lang po ay, nandito po yata si Yusek Alin kanina.
Wala po.
Kung wala po ay, ang pagkakaunawa ko po may ongoing activity kami, yung Philippine Education Network na isinasagawa, kapartner sila. At ito po ay talagang pagpapasiguro na makukonect yung pong parang magkakaroon ng local area networks kung saan ma-expedite yung at ma-enhance yung paggamit ng technology sa learning. So yun po ay pagkakaunawa ko in close partnership with the ICT. Si Yusek Des yata can also validate kung tama ang naiintindihan ko sa mga DICT issues. Kasi po ako talaga, parang ngayon curriculum and instruction na lang yung alam ko. Yusek Des?
Thank you, Yusek Dads. Yeah, tama po yun. Ang pinag-uusapan po ngayon ay yun doon sa directive na rin na magkaroon po ng Philippine Education Network sa pamumuno po ng ating DICT. Maliban po doon, patuloy po yung ating pag-uusap sa kanila tungkol po doon sa mga problema po natin na kinakaharap with regards to connectivity. Salamat po.
Okay. All right. Siguro, ano yung binapalak ng Globe para higit na makarating yung service sa mga lugar na medyo may kahinaan? Yoli?
Melo, like I said earlier, no, we're aggressively doing our builds right now. And nakikita natin talaga yung impact, yung dati na hindi na-hit ng signal, tapos biglang magkakaroon ng cell site. So talagang tataas yung usage, no? Talagang dadalo yung traffic, no? So we're doing that across different areas right now, especially provincial areas, hindi lang sa NCR, pati sa all over provinces natin, as far back as Mindanao, no? Sa mga dulo-dulo na tayo. So, siguro Melo, if I can just go back, kasi kanina yung discussion ni Dr. Valenzuela, maganda kasing bigyan din ng perspective from our end, di ba? Kasi yung sinasabi niya, parang nagle-learning curve din tayo, so kailangan din tulungan natin yung mga tao na hindi makakuha ng access to education, access to the device, access to the connectivity, no? So talagang nakikita natin nagkakaroon ng divide, no? Yung tinatawag nating digital divide.
Yeah.
So in the part of Globe, I think our contribution to the Department of Education is really helping the teachers also cope. No, kasi importante 'yon dahil hindi sila sanay. 'Di ba? Parang bigla mo silang binigyan ng ganitong klaseng modality. Hindi sila sanay gawin ito, 'di ba? Unlike before. So now we're bridging that gap, no, in terms of capability. Tinatawag na we're doing all the trainings. We have a program called the Global Filipino Teacher, which I would like to thank the DepEd kasi ginawa nila na mandatory na to for all teachers, no, to take this kind of webinar and this kind of training. So that bridges yung the learning and then the skills, di ba, and the capability of the teachers to do these kinds of modality. Now, in the aspect naman of the divide, di ba, what we did was really obviously to help, no, make the connectivity accessible to as many people as possible. Alam naman natin that in this country, mas marami ang prepaid, di ba, Melo?
Yeah, of course.
So alam natin yun. So ang ginagawa natin is we're making products na talagang 50 pesos lang, pero ganitong kalaking data, at least 5 gigabytes for 3 days. So na-extend yung produkto natin sa kanila. And these products are exclusively for learning. Diba? Plus, on top of that, nagbibigay tayo ng malalaking discounts dun sa ating home prepaid Wi-Fi. Ito yung device na magagamit na nila na hindi kailangan gamitin ang mobile, hindi mo kailangan ng smartphone, pero makaka-access ka sa internet. So, binabagsak natin yung presyong yan para makarating even to the public schools. Diba? Makayanan ng kahit mga nasa public schools na estudyante. So, those are the things that we're doing. Now, in terms of the special capability or specially abled children, meron din tayong mga pockets of projects dyan. Like one that we have in Mandaluyong, meron tayong speech lab, no, para sa mga autistic children. Pero as I understand it, di ba, mas kailangan pa ng mas marami pa. So hindi enough yung paisa-isa. Although maganda nagkakaroon ng collaboration between DepEd, ourselves, and private sector, government, di ba? Pero dapat siguro paramihin pa natin. And on the topic of the STEM, di ba? Alam mo naman yan, Melo, diniscuss na natin yan before, di ba? You know that Globe is really an advocate for STEM education. Diba, ang ating aspiration nga is like India, for instance, dapat mas marami tayong CTIO, CIOs in the country, right? Kasi kaya naman natin eh. It's just that the modalities in terms of our learning has to really, improve on emphasis on mathematics and the sciences, technology, no? So yun ang ating advocacy ngayon. So we're partnering with several universities. And we're creating modules now, obviously with the help of the Department of Education also, on how to push forward with these kinds of modalities to enhance STEM education.
Good. All right. Let's hear from the other side. Ano naman kaya ang masasabi ng ating kasama from SMART?
Yes, oo. Yung on the topic of being able to reach yung mga underserved communities, mga underprivileged, we have two programs. Nabanggit ko kanina, una na yung School in a Bag. And the goal of this is really to provide access to the technology, to the devices, to the content, and kahit po wala silang internet connection. And then the other one, which we have been supporting for the past 10 years, would be the Dynamic Learning Program. Tried and tested na po ito. And I think ang isang magandang learning, or at least na-highlight ngayong COVID, is the importance of independent student learning. And this is what the goal of DLP, or the Dynamic Learning Program, is, because if the students learn to learn on their own, a lot of the problems ma-overcome nito. Like for example, yun nga yung in terms of yung assessment, ma-ensure natin na yung mga bata talaga yung gumagawa, hindi po yung mga magulang nila or yung mga tutor nila. Also, in terms of yung deep learning, para po it really builds critical thinking, independent learning for STEM education. Ito po yung mga very important foundation skills ng STEM education. And again, dun po sa mga nag-i-implement nitong dynamic learning program, even pre-COVID, na walang access masyado, walang access sa devices, walang access sa connectivity, and yet they have been able to show that they have been able to produce students who go into the STEM disciplines at who eventually go into, becoming active contributors in as scientists, as engineers of our country, kasi yun naman yung backbone ng ating ng isang ekonomiya, di ba, ng isang nation. If you have those active na mga scientists and engineers that are thinking of new ways, innovative ways that we can do things. So yun po, yun talaga yung pinupush din namin ngayon. And we're very happy with the support that our partners from DepEd that they've been providing, that they've been giving to this program. Kasi pati na rin po yung mga content na dinesign po dito na self-directed na learning activity sheets are available now as supplemental learning resource na naroon na rin sa DepEd Commons.
Good. All right. Let's hear the messages of our undersecretaries from the Department of Education. Ano po ang gagawin ninyo para higit na maging mabisa yung approach? Kung yung Vietnam meron 28 television channels, sangkater ba yun? Eh dito, pag sinabi mong TV, pag minamalas-malas ka, tuberculosis ang aabutin mo. Can we hear from our undersecretaries? What are we to expect from the Department of Education?
Kuya Melo,
Yes, please.
Kuya Melo,
Please.
maybe on that, maybe my other colleagues can comment on that. But I just would like to say something about our partners, Globe and SMART. Gusto po namin talagang pasalamatan po ang mga partners po nating ito. Dahil alam po ninyo, talagang katuwang po natin sila sa pagsisiguro na ito nga pong ating Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan ay mangyayari. Ang ating Ma'am Liling Briones, Kuya Melo, bago pa po itong COVID-19 ay inilunsad po yung kampanya nating Edukalidad. Meron pong 4 na haligi ito. Yung unang haligi ay i-review, i-contextualize, gawin mas responsive sa pangailangan natin ngayon, yung K-12 curriculum. Pangalawang haligi, Kuya Melo, ay magkaroon tayo ng mga pasilidad so that we will have a learning environment that is really conducive to teaching and learning. Pangatlo, sanayin, bigyan ng tamang kasangkapan at kaalaman na mahuhusay nating mga guro, lalo nating paghuhusayin pa. Magaling na magaling po ang ating mga guro, pero mas pagagalingin pa po natin, equipping, upskilling our teachers so that they could efficiently deliver the K-12 curriculum. At yung pang-apat po ay partnership engagement. Yang apat na haligi pong yan ng ating edukalidad na kampanya ng ating Ma'am Niling Briones, Kuya Melo, ay buhay na buhay sa partnership po namin with Globe and SMART. Kailangan po naming idiin, Kuya Melo, na ito pong pondo ng ating kagawaran ng edukasyon talaga pong hindi sasapat kung aasahan lamang po namin ay ang aming kagawaran na sarili. Dahil nga po, Kuya Melo, under the Constitution, under the law, before you to use this fund, public fund. At yung batas na nagpapahintulot sa atin dyan, Kuya Melo, ay yung General Appropriations Act of 2020 na naipasa noong 2019 nung wala pa pong COVID-19. Ang totoo, ang DepEd, ang ating pamahalaan, kailangan natin ng sapat na pondo sa self-learning modules, kailangan natin ng sapat na pondo para may gadgets ang mga bata. Hindi naman natin na-factor in yan, Kuya Melo, nung nakaraang taon. Ngunit lahat yan ay patuloy na mangyayari dahil po sa mga partners po natin tulad ng Globe at SMART. Yung kanila pong mga activities na nabanggit, Kuya Melo, makikita ninyo has something to do with K-12 curriculum, yung dynamic learning program na binanggit ng ating partner na SMART. Kanina naglilipit ako, Kuya Melo, pero alam ko baka nabanggit ni Miss Yoli at dapat sana nabanggit yung mga thumbprint, digital thumbprint program natin sa Globe na meron din tayong mga programa on psychosocial intervention with Miguel and Richie. Kailangan po namin yan. Helping our teachers. Second pillar, buhay na buhay because sa mga aktibidad na po ito ng ating Globe partner. At yung iba pa pong mga nabanggit po, yung Gabay Guro Smart application, nakakatulong po rin sa amin yan, learning management system, ang with PLDT Smart Gabay Guro. Ang Globe, dinala po sa amin ang Google, Kuya Melo, ang TikTok, sila po ang aming conduit. Ang ganda po ng aming mga partnership. So ang punto ko, Kuya Melo, talaga pong hindi sapat ang mga salitang binitawan ko po ngayon para pasalamatan ang mga partners pong nandito ngayon kung kaya't ang ating pong pangarap na magpatuloy ng edukasyon ay mangyayari. Thank you, Kuya Melo.
All right. Thank you.
Kuya Melo.
Yes, please.
Kuya Melo, if pwede po magdagdag. Maraming salamat, Yusek Tony, doon na hinighlight mo yung sulong edukalidad. Kuya Melo, maliban, Sir Melo, kung mamarapatin mo, may dadagdag lang po ako.
Please.
Sa katunayan nga po, kasi ang tanong nyo po, how do we move forward na ngayon? Ano? In fact, the Secretary created what we call the Futures Thinking Unit. Kailangan po makita natin, even before the pandemic po, naiisip na po yan ng ating kalihim, Secretary Briones, para nga po malaman natin kung ano po yung magiging pamamaraan ng pagtuturo, ano po yung curriculum na ituturo, para po doon sa hinaharap po natin. If you want to progress po, kailangan po tignan natin long term. Yun po. Pangalawa po, sususugan ko lang yung sinabi ni Yusek Tony about professional development. Sa katunayan nga po, we have a policy right now with regards to career progression. Ang ibig sabihin lang po nito, hindi na po maghihintay ang teacher para ma-promote po kung kasi ang inaasahan lang nila either through vacancy or through ERF na tinatawag, yung equivalency rating form. Sa ngayon po, basta lang mapakita nila na they are compliant with the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, yun po yung magiging basihan para po ma-promote sila. Ganun na rin po yung ginawa natin tungkol sa usapin ng mga school heads and supervisors. Salamat po, Sir Melo.
Okay. Yusek Dads, from your end, please. Yusek Dads. Uy, nawawala si Yusek Dads. Yeah, please.
Yes po. Thank you very much. Katulad po ng sinabi nila, naniniwala po rin tayo na talagang ang pag-deliver ng high quality education, malaki ang papel na ginagampanan ng mga kapwa guro natin. Kaya po dito talaga nakatuon yung ating mga ginagawa. Halimbawa po yung gusto nating gawin na iangat ang performance ng mga bata sa PISA, mayroon po tayong TWG na talagang tinitingnan, ina-analyze yung mga estratehiya. Kakatapos din po namin ng isang meeting kahapon at hopefully po i-integrate natin ito sa mga parang professional development activities ng mga kapwa guro natin para sila mismo ay ma-update na rin sa mga paraan kung paano ginagawa o binibigay yung mga tanong sa assessment. Kasi gusto natin talagang malalim at makahulugan din yung assessment ng learning ng ating mga bata kahit may COVID-19. Ang gusto ko rin pong idagdag na kahit nga medyo mahirap pag inihambing tayo sa ibang bansa pagdating sa mga resources, sabi naman po ng mga narinig ko, parang si Secretary Liling ni-reiterate ito sa amin, the scarcity of resources can actually challenge us or inspire us to be more creative. So at ito po ang nakikita natin sa mga kapwa guro natin, yung actual na mga pamamaraan na, sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga bata. Ang iba napaka-creative po, hindi daw magastos. Siguro yung mga taga-telco dito ay pwede nilang i-confirm na may mga options pala yan na kahit FB Messenger, kung audio lang, wala kang masyadong babayaran. So you can still communicate with your learners na naririnig yung boses mo totoo kahit FB Messenger lang yan, at pwede rin ibalik sa iyo yung ganung mensahe na hindi ka magbabayad. So ang gusto po nating buhayin at kami po sa strand namin, talagang malapit nang mag-convene yung aming Circle of Innovators for Learning. Naniniwala po kami na marami sa kagawaran ng edukasyon ang marunong, maalam, mag-innovate. And we want this to be like this group to be a group that will influence others to really pay attention to innovations and showcase their efforts in doing it. Para po, kasi po ang nakikita ko, tayo mga Pilipino, minsan pag hindi pa natin nakikita umuobra yung ginagawa ng iba, parang tayo, hesitant pa na gawin. So this is what we want to do. Na kami mismo, may mga teachers, may mga school officials na magsasabi, sinubukan ko na to and it worked. And it redounded to higher levels of learning among the children. So yung pong mga ganitong pag-iisip at strategies ay hopefully makaka-contribute sa efforts natin na yung high quality basic education services ay totoong mangyari sa buhay ng mga bata. Naniniwala po tayo na talagang yung mga kasama natin sa baba, yung mga fellow teachers, fellow leaders for learning, principal, superintendents, mas sila po ang makakagawa ng pagkakaiba o pag-transform ng ating education system. Kami po sa Central Office ang paniniwala ko, at yun din po ang nakikita ko kay Secretary Liling, ay magbigay ng directions at magbigay ng suporta kung paano mangyayari na ang bawat bahagi ng DepEd, yung 40,000 something schools natin, ay lahat nagiging malikhain at nakakapag-employ ng mga relevant strategies for creating a difference. Thank you po.
Yusek Dads, meron lang informasyon, may isang sitwasyon sa Bicol na yung teacher sa kinder 65 estudyante. Hindi ko lang malaman kung anong milagro ang pwedeng gawin ng teacher para matugunan yung kanyang 65 kinder pupils. Siguro you can also look into the facts and figures, ilan yung enrolled, ilan yung teachers, so we can be assured na may kalidad yung edukasyon. No?
Si Yusek Des po yata ang magbibigay ng sagot. Ang alam ko po, morning and afternoon session yung kinder, so 2 klase yata ang na-assign sa isang teacher. Baka po sa isang araw naman 65, pero hindi naman dapat yan sabay-sabay na nami-meet. Pero yun nga po, yung buhay nila ngayon, hindi naman kailangang i-meet. So si Yusek Des po yata mas maliwanag yung nito, impormasyon.
Baka hindi makatulog yung teacher kung 65, para ka nag-iipon ng talangka niya.
Sir Melo, dagdag ko lang po doon kay Yusek Dads. Ang planning parameters po natin doon sa kinder, kasi 3 hours lang po yan per cohort, no? So a teacher will be handling 2 sessions. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon na 3 hours po yon. Pero maliban po doon, nagbigay po tayo, nagbalangkas tayo ng polisiya, yung tinatawag nating learner support aids. Ito po yung makakatulong doon sa ating mga guro para nga po maibsan yung kanilang burden po doon sa mga malalaking class sizes. But maliban po doon, makakatulong rin po to doon sa paggabay doon sa ating mga learners po. Yung basehan po nito ay kung ano po yung needs ng ating mga school po. Pero meron tayong polisiya na sinasabi natin as much as possible para hindi kumalat yung COVID, mag-hire tayo ng qualified na learner support aides within the community po. Yun po. Salamat po.
Okay. Advance information siguro for Wednesday next week. We will talk about how do we take care of the mental health of our students. Kung merong pressure doon sa online, doon sa blended learning, how do we cope? May guidance counselor sa mga eskwelahan, pero how would counselors attend to them? Yan, pag-uusapan natin next Wednesday yan. Pero balik tayo sa ASEAN perspective with Dr. Ethel Agnes P. Valenzuela. Dr. Agnes, may binabanggit dito na banggit ninyo, biggest matter to address is remediation or recovery on learning gaps ngayong panahon na ito. Anong mga hakbang ang pwedeng gawin ng mga gobyerno para mapunuan yung mga pagkukulang na yon? Yun na rin po ang inyong magiging closing statement from an ASEAN perspective. Dr. Valenzuela, please.
Sir Melo, thank you very much for that question. So alam naman natin na during this pandemic, lahat nagkaroon ng digital transformation, nag-evolve lahat yung online learning, virtual classrooms, and then yung those who cannot really make it, they use TV and radio channels dito sa ating region sa Southeast Asia. And talagang kung hindi pa rin marireach ng radio and TV broadcast, gumagamit tayo ng mga handouts or books or modules. So and then yung remediation for learning, merong closely monitoring ng mga teachers and as well as education officials. One thing is, ang nakita kong development is using mobile devices to follow up. Nagkakaroon ng follow-up on the learning difficulty and then supplementing materials that they can support to really make it happen. So kailangan merong specific approach for each learning. Kaya nagkakaroon ng personalization and educational learning continuity. And dito malaki ang role na piniplay ng mga parents natin in supporting learning at this time. So sa Philippines, we have 60% connectivity, right? And 77 million of our population use mobile phones. So ito yung perhaps the thing that we can call as silver lining. Let's use mobile devices, mobile learning to promote learning. If I remember at CIMEO, Inotech, we have text to teach to reach the marginalized learners in Mindanao. So ginawa na yon. Lahat ng curriculum translate into video materials. So if you text this type of resources for science, mathematics, you can text it and then this will be downloaded to your school. So ang problem lang ngayon is with the pandemic, many of our children are actually staying at home in the Philippines. So we can perhaps revisit this kind of mobile learning activities at baka pwede nating i-upscale ang implementation yan because the easiest way to reach the learners, even in Singapore, Vietnam, or elsewhere, is a combination of virtual learning plus the mobile learning application. Kasi most of the students are really connected by the mobile devices. So gamitin natin yon. In fact, as I've been telling you, I'm using Zoom in my class, but also using mobile technology, texting all these learning materials, and following up whether they're learning essential peer review. They have to review the output of their classmates. So ang daming ways. And we are in an era where we are using technology and digitalization is here. Let's maximize all of these and continue to help each other in finding out solutions. No, ang daming problems, but definitely working together with everybody, all stakeholders, we can provide solutions. Thank you so much for inviting me, Sir Melo, and to the team from the Philippines. Yes, we can make it.
Okay, pahabol ko lang, may assignment lang ako sa inyo, Dr. Valenzuela. Siguro, in as much as
Assignment ako.
from ASEAN, simple lang. Siguro,
Yes po.
you can also look into the percentage of the budget in relation to GDP ng
Yeah, yes.
gobyerno na nakafocus sa edukasyon, kay technical vocational yan, kay higher education, kay basic education. So we can have a good benchmark and we can understand where we are, why we are, at ano ang potential natin. Yan. It all boils down to money.
Sir, meron pala naisip mo yung work ko. Now I'm chairing the technical working committee of UNESCO on public expenditure in education. In fact, I'll be presenting tonight in our working committee. So all of these we can share with you, but we're in the process of improving the national, the NEA that we call education expenditure education account. We have the NEA or National Education Account, and every country should follow that. In fact, Philippines was one of those who developed NEA, and only few countries follow that. The world, I'm talking about the world. So yan po ay isang working committee ngayon under SDG, and I'm chairing that committee.
Good.
So when we finish our work, we can share with you better.
Very good. Thank you. Mga kaibigan, we live in a very challenging condition. Sabi nga, when I was young, and that was a long time ago, pag sinabi mong tablet, medical yan o portal. Pero ngayon, it could be Huawei, it could be Apple, it could be whatever. I recall the experience of Albert Laus. Si Albert ay nakapanayam ko. Siya ay isang food delivery attendant. Nasa Food Panda siya ngayon. Yung kanyang ahensya na nag-empleyo sa kanya for the past 12 years, if 3 times a week na lang ang trabaho dahil sa COVID, so pumasok siya sa Food Panda. Kumusta ang kita? Maayos po naman, nakakakain kami ng maayos. Kumusta yung pangangailangan ng mga anak mo sa gadgets? Yun po ang problema. Yung connectivity, prepaid po, makakaya namin yon. I'd like to thank some friends na nag-donate ng tablet para kay Albert Laus para makatugon yung kanyang mga anak sa pag-aaral. There will be problems, but definitely problems are not problems without solutions. Thank you very much to all our panelists for sharing their expertise, their time, and of course, yung kanilang mga pananaw sa mga isyong kinakaharap natin. Maraming salamat po sa PPI at sa Hans Seidel Foundation. I wish you the best of health. Please stay safe. God bless us all.
Stay safe. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Salamat
Thank you.
po,
Thank you
Kuya
po.
Melo,
Bye.
and to all our panelists, my
Hello.
colleagues in DepEd.
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Be safe always.
Ethel, hi
Bye,
Ethel.
sir.
Bye.
Bye,
Yes,
Ethel.
Dads, bye. Kuya Melo.
Opo.
Thank you. Bye.
Ma'am Yoli, Miss Steph,